I stopped waking my husband and he missed the closing. My husband Derek has this thing where he's decided alarms are my job. He turns his phone to silent every night because the notifications keep him up, and for 8 years I've been the human alarm clock. I wake him for work. I wake him for flights. I wake him for his own mother's birthday brunch. If he oversleeps, it's somehow my fault for not trying harder to get him up. I've shaken him, thrown open curtains, put coffee under his nose. He just groans and says, 5 more minutes, then blames me when 5 turns into 40. For months we'd been buying a house. Our first real house, not a rental. The closing was set for a Thursday at 10 a.m. downtown. Derek handled almost none of it. I did the mortgage paperwork, the inspection scheduling, the endless emails with the agent. All he had to do was show up and sign, because both our names were on the loan and the seller wouldn't budge on the date. The night before, we had a fight, a stupid one that turned real. He'd invited his friends over to watch the game without telling me, and when I asked him to at least help clean up after, he said, "You're always managing me like I'm a kid." I said, "Because you act like one." He said, "And I'll never forget this. Maybe if you stopped hovering, I'd actually do things myself." I said, "Fine." He went to bed at 1 a.m., drunk, phone on silent like always. He didn't set an alarm, so Thursday morning I got up at 7. I showered. I made coffee. I got dressed in the nice blazer I'd bought for the closing. And I looked at Derek, dead asleep, mouth open, and I remembered him saying, "Stop managing me." I didn't wake him. I drove downtown alone. I sat in the title office. At 10 a.m., the agent asked where he was. I said, "He's handling it himself today." The seller's lawyer got antsy. The seller had a backup offer and had told us more than once he'd walk if there were any delays. At 10:20, the agent was calling Derek's phone. Straight to voicemail. Silent phone, remember. At 10:45, the seller pulled out, just like he'd warned. The house went to the backup buyers by that afternoon. Derek finally woke up at 11:30 to 12 missed calls. He called me screaming, "Where were you? Why didn't you wake me?" I was calm. I said, "I stopped managing you, like you asked." He said, "You did this on purpose. You cost us the house." I said, "No. You silenced your phone and skipped setting an alarm because you assumed I'd handle it. I didn't handle it. That's not sabotage, that's you being an adult for one morning." He said, "This is insane. You're punishing me over a stupid argument." I said, "I'm not punishing you. I just stopped doing the one job you never agreed to give me. You've told me for years to stop hovering." I finally listened. He went quiet. Then he said, "We lost $40,000 in earnest money and inspection fees over this." And here's the part he didn't know. When we'd applied, the loan officer had needed one person as primary on the earnest deposit. I'd put it in my name to speed things up, and Derek had signed off without reading, because he never reads. Every dollar of that deposit came back to my account, not his. He found out that night, screaming into the phone with the agent, that the refund had already cleared. "Send me half," he said. "Now." I said, "I asked you to help me carry things for 8 years. You called it hovering." So I set it all down. His mom called me an hour later. She said, "Sweetheart, he told me you deliberately let him sleep through the biggest day of your lives." I said, "He turns his phone off every night and expects me to be his alarm." I told him I'd stop. He didn't believe me. "I used to wake him for school too." I said, "Then you already know. Derek's been staying at his brother's since Friday. He keeps texting that we can find another house and start over." I text back that there's no we, because a we needs 2 people who set their own alarms. The earnest money is still in my account.